Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Bengus Khan, and today I'm coming to you with my updated series tier list for all the speculative fiction series I have read at least 2 books of, or in some cases DNF'd, where I'll never be getting to more of those books. So this has become a bit of a yearly tradition on the channel. I've been reading a ton of amazing series over the past year plus, and so I think I have plenty to add near the top of this thing, but really all throughout, because there's been a few misses along the way. So let's get to it. And I first want to see if I want to clean up anything that was here before, if I viewed anything differently from kind of where I last left it, with a little bit of time and distance between some of these. So you don't want to be in the C tier here, because these are the ones where I just do not feel like they were a worthwhile experience in the end, and I kind of regret reading them. And let's see, I did try to begin the 3rd book of Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan. I did not like Tyranny of Faith, even after really liking Justice of Kings. And this is going to be moving down into the D and F's tier, because, man, that 3rd book, I just clashed with his prose style so much. Could not get into it at all. Yeah, that was not a success for me. Let's see, anything else in here that I've read more of? So I did read, I think, the finale of Cradle since I last updated it. But I feel pretty good about Cradle, but I did read the latest Murderbot book, which was a huge miss, and I'm starting to get very bored and feeling apathetic towards the series, so I'm going to move this down to the bottom of B. Let's see, I got to the next Drenai book with Quest for Lost Heroes, and I really liked that one. So this one might move up a little bit. And anything else? I did some rereading of Temeraire. Loved those first 5 books all over again. That's pretty solid where it's at. Loved the first book of Magicians that I reread. Let's see, with some distance between Expanse and Song of Ice and Fire, I think I'm going to trade their places. Just feeling more connected to the Expanse series on the whole than I am with A Song of Ice and Fire. And maybe that's because endings really are important, having some closure. And I've also just not been able to disentangle my experience of the Game of Thrones show with the books. So I think I'm going to move A Song of Ice and Fire down into A. But A tier are still my favorite reads, ones that were basically perfect for me, just engaging and emotionally impactful. S tier just takes it to that next level, which is just maximum investment and really just personally special reads. And B is for solid ones that I enjoyed and was engaged by, but didn't have that really big, deep personal impact. So anything else on here? I've been rereading Wave, the Stormlight Archive books, and that's just been kind of reiterating to me how much I love those and adore those, and just solidifying its place. Read a Dresden Files book, love those. I think those are good up here at the top. Anything else? No, that's... Oh man, it's been so long since I read those Red Rising books. Expanse might be going up here. Okay, let's get to the new stuff. So, since I last updated my tier list, I've put these in order. The next one that I read the 2nd book of was James J. Butcher's Unorthodox Chronicles. So, Dead Man's Hand and Long Past Dues. This is Jim Butcher's son doing his own urban fantasy series, and it just has not been working great for me. I might be DNFing this thing, or might give the 3rd book a chance. Long after it comes out, I'm not going to get it on new release again. Man, I'm not really loving this series. Where does it go? Maybe toward the bottom of C, with the possibility of it moving down into the DNFs pile. Alright, I continued Realm of the Elderlings with the Rainwild Chronicles, and I had a great time with the first 2 books, Dragon Keeper and Dragon Haven. Man, I was looking to be quite an outlier in loving this subseries more than most people, but unfortunately, City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons just didn't work as well. The whole kind of arc of the story and the character arcs were feeling repetitive and tiresome by those last 2 books for me, and so I'll probably put it maybe above Farseer, and maybe above the Protectors of Pratani, since I gave a few of those books 5 stars and liked it pretty well throughout. Alright, and then Legends and Lattes. I don't know if this series has a name, but the second book, the prequel, Bookshops and Bone Dust, came out and kind of made this a true series. And I liked both of them. They were nice, cozy breaks from the really tense stuff I usually read. I like Baldry's voice and style, and man, I especially like Legends and Lattes, though. And this is going to be solid into B somewhere. Maybe right behind Protectors of Pratani. Now, I'm thinking about doing a reread of Farseer Trilogy, and I think that original trilogy is going to go way up on reread, but as of now, we'll keep it there. So this is Daughter of Redwinter. That's book 1 from the Redwinter Chronicles trilogy, with the third book right on the way soon by Ed McDonald. And this is a really underrated modern fantasy trilogy, and I had a good time with the first 2 books, and if the third one really lands, this one could become a really just big personal series for me, maybe higher up. But as of now, with just the first 2 books, I think it'll go into B somewhere, maybe again in this area. But we'll see how the ending goes. But this is very Hob-like in how it's slow burn, deep, nuanced character study with a lot of complex emotional and interpersonal dynamics. So I think Robin Hobb fans would really like Ed McDonald's Redwinter Chronicles. Is that too low? But it's only 2 out of 3 books so far, so we'll see. That has a chance to rise for sure with the finale. And then Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time series. This is a strange series because it's not a traditional single story broken up into multiple volumes. It really is interconnected standalones, and so it's hard to view it almost as a series. I loved books 1 and 2. Children of Time, Children of Ruin. I liked Children of Memory, just not as much. It wasn't as engaging for me. But man, the first 2 books were so my jam. And I think they're just going to go behind Tawny Man trilogy in front of Malazan. They're just more my thing than Malazan was. And man, Children of Time itself is one of my favorite books now. Just love what Tchaikovsky's doing in this series. Love the overall thematics and the individual plots. Man, they're so compelling. So that one's pretty high, into A tier. Unlike this one, this is the White Sand Omnibus by Brandon Sanderson and some other team of illustrators that adapted his prose version. This is really one novel broken up into 3 volumes in the graphic novel series, but because it's an omnibus, I'm going to count it as a series, and this is one of the worst reading experiences of my life, and it's just going to go ahead of Ringworld, which I think is still comfortably the worst read of my life. And so I finished it. I didn't DNF it, but I'm putting it in the DNFs tier because it really is one of the worst reads of my life, and I want to retroactively DNF it. I want to go back in time and DNF it before I ever started. And so it's a DNF in spirit, really. I got this deluxe edition and just did not expect the just utter disappointment that I've never felt before by anything by Sanderson. So hopefully his revised prose version goes better for people. That's going to be an experience coming to that after having such a negative association with the whole thing. So yeah, do not read these graphic novels with the revised prose version on the way. Pretend it does not exist is my best advice. Alright, and then we have the Sunder Nation trilogy by Von Roycroft. This is self-pub with 2 books out so far. The Severing Sun was book 1, and I really got into book 1, and book 2 took it in an interesting direction that was less personally engaging for me, but I have high hopes for the trilogy finale on the way soon. And if it's a strong finale that kind of hooks me back in, I think this will end up being a very strong series for me overall. But with the first 2 books, as of now, I think it's going to go into solid B tier. Definitely worthwhile. but hasn't become yet a personal favorite. Put it right ahead of N.K. Jemison's Broken Earth trilogy. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. So this is one of my biggest surprises of my reading life. I thought lit RPG was not going to be for me at all, but I kept on hearing things about it, so I gave it a try on audio and fell in love with it. I did all 6 books within just a few weeks, and I was not ready to let go of that story, so I just listened to them all over again. And I am in such great anticipation for book 7. This is just something I love so much. It's going up into S tier. It's become favorite series, no doubt. Just question is how high. I think I'll throw it right in front of Red Rising. Yeah, and with the next book on the way, which is looking like it's going to be completely explosive, and then however this bonanza finishes up, I think it has potential to rise even more. But we'll see. I hope the last arc of the series really hits for me. And this one is one that is not on most people's radar. That is Empire of Salt by Con Iggulden, writing under his pen name C.F. Iggulden, because his historical fiction publishers didn't want his readers to confuse him with the fantasy author version of himself. And this is a trilogy, and it was just a banger. I loved this. Never heard of it before. Kyle from Read by Kyle asked me to buddy read it with him, and this is just fast-paced. The whole thing is about 1,000 pages, and just really both character and plot-driven, very creative and lively. Man, this was just perfect for me. Definitely an A-tier series, verging maybe on S-tier. That's tough with these series, but man, how high am I going with this? Sharp, Magicians, Remembrance of Earth's Past. Man, some of these are my absolute favorites of all time. I'm going to throw it towards the top of A tier. Just a whirlwind of a trilogy that hit hard for me. It was gritty, but straddled the line between being on the more optimistic side versus the more grimdark, cynical side really well. Man, just so perfect. I want so many more people to try out Empire of Salt. Now, Dune is one that I'd read a while back, but then once the second movie was out and I got some momentum back with the story again, I was like, okay, let me just continue with Dune Messiah. So I read that, and I just think the whole Dune style and story is just not really hooking me. It's just not my thing. I was reading Dune Messiah and intellectually appreciating a lot of it, but was never emotionally hooked. Found myself just mind-wandering while I was reading. So I don't even know if I'm going to continue. I do plan to at least read out through Children of Dune and maybe God Emperor. So I'm not DNFing, but this is just not my thing. I can appreciate it, but man, I'm not in love with Dune so far. So I'm going to throw it down here into C. Yeah, in front of the Poppy War, at least. I did finish up, over the course of this year, I started and finished the 12-book Alex Verus Urban Fantasy series by Benedict Jacka. And this was solid for me. I liked pretty much every book, and some of them were really gripping, and I did like the entire arc of the series and where it went, and kind of started out a little bit predictable, a little bit episodic, but it was truly, in the end, an interconnected, really impactful, character-driven story for the main character, Alex Verus, and it left a good mark with me, and I think I ended up really liking this overall, and I'm going to put it at towards the bottom of A, maybe. I think comparing it to Mistborn Era 2, oh, that's tough. I'll throw it maybe just behind Dogs of War. Dogs of War, I think Tchaikovsky's working on a new book. That's another one of his interconnected standalones kind of series. Tough to judge that against these. Okay, I'll throw Alex Verus at the bottom of A. And it did end really strongly for me, so extra points there. From what was, for a while, seemingly going to be just like a solid B tier series. And as part of my TBR contest between Jake and Kyle, they both chose books from the Dandelion Dynasty for me, and I ended up just binging the whole series, all 4 big books, and it went pretty well, I must say. I really loved the ending and how everything wrapped up. Was not as enthralled by the beginning of the series, so it overall, even just thinking about it, it hasn't had real staying power in my memory and just in my thinking. I don't often reflect back on the series and think about moments or characters like I do a lot of these other series, even ones that I've read much further back in my memory. So that's hurting it, that I don't often really think about it or find myself reflecting back on it. And so where is it going is the question. I think it's going to go in A, but maybe towards the bottom again where Alex Verus is living. I'll probably put it right at the bottom of A. But still a very worthwhile time, but I didn't fall in love with it like I was hoping to, like a lot of my book buddies have with this series. But definitely worth the read. And then Kyle also picked The Last Kingdom. Bernard Cornwell's a favorite author of mine. You see Warlord Chronicles up here in S tier. The 23-book Sharp series is up here in A. And so he picked Last Kingdom. And I've only read the first 2 books so far, but it hasn't fully hooked me in. And I don't think I was particularly in the mood for Viking-era historical fiction when I started this. I am hoping to get just more involved as I go along with this series, but right now it's kind of just sitting pleasantly in B, where I liked it but haven't fallen in love. Maybe down here. Yeah. Jake got me to start the Vorkosigan saga. This is Lois McMaster Bujold's long-running sci-fi adventure series, and here it starts with Shards of Honor, and I had an amazing time with this prequel duology, Shards of Honor and Barrayar. Then started the Miles books, which is really the core of the series. I've read 3 of those so far, and a novella, and they've all been working. I like Bujold's interesting style, just full of wit and cleverness and emotional nuance and intelligence, and mixed with these kind of wacky sci-fi adventure plots. And I've been having a good time, and I still have many books to go, but I think this so far is going up into A tier with the definitely strong ability, I think, to rise way up even further with how things go from here. I think I'm going to put it in front of Dogs of War, but we're still pretty early on. There's over a dozen novels in this series to get to, so and many novellas, so got a long ways to go with that one. Here is Legend of Blackjack. This is part of the Keymark series by A.R. Witham, and I had a good time with Legend of Blackjack. I didn't fall fully in love, and I recently read the first book in the new trilogy, The Crimes of Rooker Flynn, and that one definitely was just not the type of story that I was looking for. I had more of just an attraction to this mixture of kind of like a young adult style with adult feel, with this big quest plot of Legend of Blackjack, and I'm hoping that it'll open back up again. But it's overall definitely just not for me and my cup of tea. I've read them really just because I've been part of A.R. Witham's readathons, and I knew they weren't gonna really be for me. And I think he's what he's trying to execute on, he's doing wonderfully with such lively voice and unique voice. But it's not particularly for me. I think I'm going to go bottom of B tier with that one. And we are getting to the most recent series I finished. I just finished the Fitz and the Fool trilogy a few days ago, and that brought an end to my whole realm of the Elderling's journey. And how did I do with this? Some people don't have a great time with this final trilogy, and they didn't love the way that the direction that Hop took things, but I did. I could not have been more emotionally invested in this trilogy. I liked more even than Live Ship Traders. it's going up. It has an advantage because it's part of this larger series, so I don't want to put it all the way up where like the Warlord Chronicles is just its own standalone trilogy doing everything on its own. But man, this hits so hard. So I think as a trilogy, I'm going to put it maybe right behind The Expanse. But I am going to rank the Realm of the Elderling series as a whole because it really truly is one giant interconnected series. And this is going up high. The question is, it's S tier. I don't want recency bias to get in the way, but part of me thinks it is truly my favorite series now because it brought me to tears at the end and had that emotional impact that few other things have had. But I think I want to let some distance go between when I finished and before I crown it my favorite. I'm gonna throw it up here, high into S, near the very top. The Realm of the Elderlings, definitely one of the most impactful reading journeys of my life, no doubt. So I'll throw it up towards the top of S tier for a magnificent, magnificent journey that Hob took me on. Alright, that is it for my 2024 update. I have not put standalones in here, and this was a great year for my standalones. I'm going to eventually do a standalone tier list. 11/22/63, Shogun, and some GGK books like Song for a Bow and Brightness Long Ago. I am about to start the Sarantine Mosaic, which is one of his few series, although that's really just one big book broken up into 2 volumes. But I do want to be able to have some stuff on this list that is by one of my favorite authors. And let's see, there's a bunch of series I've started with book 1s that I still haven't continued that I need to, so I can put them up here, like K.J. Parker's The Siege, or, what else? There was Wizard of Earthsea, I've only read 1 book, and The Band by Nicholas Eames, so Discworld. I gotta make progress in some of these other series that I've started and that have promise, but here's where I really am standing with all of my current SFF and some historical fiction series that I have read so far. So let me know how you feel about any of these rankings, good or bad. Would love to hear your thoughts. Hope you had a good time, and I'll catch you later.